So we've all been sold this same story, right?
Well, absolutely. It's a cultural story, and it's everywhere.
And it gets so deeply ingrained in our ambition. The idea is, achieve success first, and then maybe find peace later.
Right. You run the race, you secure the money, you climb the ladder.
You build the empire.
Exactly. And only then can you finally, afford to look for meaning or connection or fulfillment.
It's the operating system of the modern driven world. It really is.
It is. It positions meaning as this luxury item, something you earn, but only after the grind is done.
But that's the thing. If you look closely at people who have that extraordinary external success, but who also have this resilient sense of fulfillment, the formula just seems completely backward. It just feels like a really unstable way to live.
And that's the radical question we're really digging into today. Because I know the person listening to this is ambitious, but they're also restless. They feel that tension.
That pull between the drive and the desire for peace.
Yeah. So what if that whole conventional belief is just upside down?
What if real lasting success, the kind that doesn't feel hollow, is only possible because of inner stillness, not in spite of lacking it?
We are challenging the fundamental sequence of things. This deep dive is all about that threshold moment, that turning point where your whole understanding of success just transforms.
So the idea isn't that inner stillness is the reward for achievement.
No, it's the prerequisite. It's the necessary non-negotiable ground beneath every stable thing you build.
Okay, let's unpack this concept of ground. Because for a high-achieving person, that immediately challenges this idea that ambition and, your inner life are somehow at odds.
It's a huge false dichotomy.
The monk versus the mogul.
Right, or the meditator versus the relentless go-getter. That choice feels unavoidable to most people.
Why do you think that is?
Well, it's a very modern problem, I think. It comes from a fragmented worldview that completely separates our inner experience from our outer results.
But that's not how it's always been.
Not at all. When you look back at ancient wisdom, across the Upanishads, in Zen koans, the core teachings of the Buddha, you find this hidden, radical insight that just dissolves the whole conflict.
And what's the insight?
It's this. Faith is not something you believe in. It is the ground from which you act.
Wow. Okay, that distinction it's everything. But it's also hard to grasp because we're so conditioned to think of faith as like a cognitive thing, a set of beliefs.
Something you have to defend.
Yeah, exactly. But you're shifting it into a dynamic state of being, a quality of presence. So how do we make that abstract idea of ground concrete for someone who is used to building visible, measurable things?
I think the best way is the analogy of the tree. It perfectly illustrates this relationship between the unseen inner work and the visible outer result.
Okay.
So think of the mightiest, most enduring tree you can imagine. Its strength, its height, the sprawling branches, the fruit it produces, all of it depends entirely on what you can't see. The roots, the height of the tree, that's the public success, the recognition, the achievement.
But the resilience of that tree, its ability to weather a storm, a drought, a crisis.
That's all dictated by the depth of the roots. That's where the quiet center is. If the roots are shallow, sure, the tree looks great on a calm day.
But the moment a strong wind comes,
it's ripped out, that quiet center, that depth, that is literally where resilience lives.
I can see how for the ambitious person, cultivating that depth would sound slow and, agonizingly invisible. It doesn't give you immediate quarterly return.
I know, but that depth isn't accidental. It's cultivated through continuous, conscious choice. This is where the real work is.
What kind of choice?
It's choosing presence over endless performance. It's choosing your own authenticity over just getting external approval. It is consistently acting from alignment, from your deepest values, rather than just from sheer ambition.
Which is so often just a panicked attempt to escape feeling inadequate.
Precisely. That daily discipline is the silent maintenance of the root system, and it is the single greatest predictor of sustainable success.
So the stability of your inner life directly dictates the integrity and sustainability of your outer work. And, I think we intuitively get this. When you meet someone who is truly successful and also grounded, there's a quality to them.
They don't seem frantic.
No.
Exactly. And what's fascinating is that these truly impactful, resilient lives, they all share what we could call an invisible integrity.
Invisible integrity, I like
It's
that.
a foundational quality that, external validation, quick wins, algorithms, slick marketing, it just cannot replicate it
Correct.
because it comes from that deep integration.
And when that's lacking.
You get burnout. You get ethical shortcuts. You get this need for constant, exhausting validation.
So if invisible integrity is the goal, how do we stop seeing our inner life as some separate time-consuming hobby? I have to do my 20 minutes of meditation. How do we integrate it into the real workday that's demanding all our energy?
The most resilient leaders, the most innovative creators, they're the ones who recognize that every single external act can be an expression of mindfulness.
Every act, even like drafting a difficult email.
Absolutely. That email, a client conversation, a big strategic decision, any of it, as long as it's approached with awareness and genuine care, the artificial boundary just dissolves.
Because your inner state is continuously informing your outer action. If you're rushed and terrified inside,
Your outer action will be brittle. It'll be prone to error.
Okay, this is powerful, but let's bring this down to earth with some really specific examples, because I think people struggle with this when the pressure's on. Inner stillness feels like a luxury you can't afford.
Let's start with leadership. Imagine a CEO facing a really tough quarter. Instead of starting the big team meeting with charts and projections, they start with a genuine, open question.
Which is?
How is everyone really doing?
Not just as a performative checkbox.
No, as a genuine invitation for people to show up as humans, not just as their job roles. That one act creates psychological safety.
Okay, but hang on. For someone in a cutthroat, competitive world, taking 5 minutes for that sounds like a waste of precious time. How do you square that time cost?
Because that time is an investment in quality. The CEO isn't delaying action. They are optimizing the ground from which the action is taken. A team that feels seen and safe makes better, more courageous decisions.
Which ultimately saves way more time than the 5 minutes you spent up front.
Exactly. The foundation of successful work is shared humanity, not shared panic. And that is a far more stable foundation.
Okay, that makes the integration really tangible. What about for, say, a creative person?
Take the artist or the writer, the entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Someone who refuses to release work that doesn't feel deeply true to them, even if it means delaying a launch or missing out on some viral trend.
They're prioritizing that invisible integrity over temporary visibility.
They are. They're trusting that work born from truth resonates deeper and lasts longer than virality ever could. That's faith in their own integrity over faith in the algorithm of the moment.
And maybe the most relatable example of all, the parent.
Yes. The parent who, after a long, exhausting day, puts the phone down and just truly listens to their child. Not to fix something, not to teach a lesson.
Just to be present.
Just to be there. These aren't acts of sacrifice. They're acts of alignment. They're concrete acts of faith as a state.
What do you mean, as a state?
The confidence that being here, now, fully, is not only enough, it's the most valuable thing you have. You're not desperately trying to manipulate the future anymore. You are standing solid in the present.
And from that place of stillness, from that enoughness, something incredible happens to the action itself. It becomes almost effortless.
But not lazy.
No, not lazy.
Fluid, indeed. And this leads us to what I think is a startling secret for high achievers. You don't need more motivation. You need more presence.
Say more about that. Motivation feels like the holy grail.
Well, motivation, by its nature, is a nervous energy. It relies on excitement or urgency, which is always fleeting. Presence, on the other hand, is constantly renewable. It's just here.
So chasing motivation is a recipe for burnout. We're always looking for the next inspirational video, the next fear-inducing deadline.
It's totally unsustainable. But when action flows from presence, it's profoundly fluid. It's aligned. It's free from the desperation that drives manipulation and fear and all those short-term goals that leave you feeling empty.
You're moving with the moment, not fighting it.
Which is the foundation of all flow states.
So the practice of mindfulness stops being something you do on a yoga mat.
Right.
And it just dissolves the boundary between spiritual practice and real life.
Precisely. The practice becomes the living. And this is the hardest challenge for the ambitious person.
Yeah.
We're telling you that the most radical, high-leverage thing you can do is to stop running.
Stop chasing.
The most intense work is learning to just remain still when every single instinct is screaming at you to move.
And when you manage to stop, what changes? How does this show up in the ordinary moments?
It means ordinary moments become sacred simply because you are fully there for them. Cooking dinner stops being a frantic chore to get through.
It becomes a form of moving meditation.
You taste the food, you feel the knife in your hand.
A difficult conversation stops being something to avoid or to win.
And becomes an opportunity for real connection, for deep listening.
And even a big setback, like a financial one, it transforms from a disaster into a powerful lesson in non-attachment, in agility.
The boundary dissolves not because you've transcended the world's problems, but because you've finally fully entered your own life without reservation, without escape.
This is where it gets really interesting. As we move toward this final revelation, we started by challenging the belief that peace follows success. Now we have to challenge the idea that faith requires belief in anything at all.
And that is the most startling concept hidden in these sources. True faith doesn't ask you to believe in God or karma or even in some perfected future version of yourself.
It only asks you to do one thing.
To stop running from the present moment.
Stop running from the discomfort, the silence, the ambiguity of just being alive. So what happens in that space? When the noise of the shoulds and the fears finally quiets down?
A different kind of knowing emerges. It's not mental answers on a spreadsheet. It's a visceral, embodied knowing. It comes from the body, from the breath, from the quiet hum of being alive.
And this is where we introduce the concept of Shraddha.
Shraddha. It's a word we hear in Eastern traditions. In the West, we might translate it as faith, but that translation is it's too thin.
So what does Shraddha really mean?
Shraddha is confidence born of direct experience. It's the difference between believing you can walk across a bridge because you read an engineering report, that's conviction,
Right.
and knowing the ground beneath your feet is solid because you are standing on it right now. That is Shraddha. It's not the mental idea, I believe I will succeed.
It's the embodied, undeniable statement.
I am here.
That clarity, that certainty of I am here. It must fundamentally change the entire axis of what success even is.
The metrics shift completely. Success shifts from being about accumulation, how much you can gather or control,
The being about contribution,
Oh.
what value you generate, what you offer.
and it moves from this frantic need for control over every variable
Which is exhausting.
to co-creation, recognizing you are part of a larger evolving flow. You're operating with life, not against it.
And for the high achiever who is so often defined by comparison.
Critically, yes.
Yeah.
It shifts from the deep-seated need to stand out, to be unique, to be viral, to be better than.
To the profound comfort of belonging. Belonging to yourself, belonging to the human moment, belonging to this one fragile life you have.
That is the quiet revolution. It's not the loud headline we associate with success, but every single one of those acts of integrity, every choice made from clarity instead of fear, is a deeply transformative act.
And it ripples outward in ways you might never even see.
So as we bring this deep dive to a close, we want to invite you to consider this one final reflection. What if your greatest contribution isn't your title or your net worth, but your sheer radical ability to be fully present in an overwhelmingly distracted age?
What if the most radical, successful thing you could do today is just stop chasing and start being the ground beneath your own feet?
Wisdom is a direction, not a destination. It requires continuous curiosity, a willingness to question the map you were given.
So we don't have final answers here.
No, we have an opening, an invitation to just notice 3 things in your life.
First, when do you feel most real? Not most productive, not most motivated, but truly, undeniably real.
Second, where in your life are you still confusing faith, the ground, with the desperate need for certainty?
And finally, what would change if you stopped trying to have faith as if it's something you need to acquire and just allowed yourself to be faith, to be that stable ground for your own actions?
So maybe the next time you face a big decision or feel that restless urge to run, instead of asking, what should I believe or what should I do?
We suggest asking this
Where's my attention right now?
because in that question and in the answer it reveals lies everything you need for true, resilient success.
And maybe, just maybe, the next deep dive begins not with words,
But with silence.